Well, Jeff Lebby doesn't want defense at Mississippi State. He wants chaos.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Locked On Mississippi State, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jaron. That's Landon. On today's show, we're breaking down some really revealing comments on Jeff Lebby about why he brought back Zach Arnett and the defensive identity he wants this football team to have. Then we'll talk about the tight end room and why Lebby believes that group could completely change the versatility of Mississippi State's offense this season. We'll wrap it up with recruiting because official visit season is heating up, and some offers actually are flying out, and this is a huge stretch for the future of the program. If you're never every day, or you already know, this is the show that tells it like it is: real football talk, real recruiting talk, and honestly, y'all are more plugged in than most national shows because we actually live in the details right here. So Jeff Lebby didn't hire Zach Arnett to manage the defense.
No.
He hired him to attack. That's exactly what he said. So in an interview with Cole Kublik, he said, I want to attack. I want to create negatives. I want to hit the quarterback. I want to be able to get the ball back because of turnovers. So key parts of that quote: attack, create negatives. So that's negative plays. That's obviously turnovers. And he mentioned forced turnovers.
Yep.
And it also can be a negative just not to go anywhere, stopping the guy at the line of scrimmage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then hit the quarterback. He wants to get pressure on the quarterback. And that's not always sacks. That's sometimes just pressure. That's why there's a quarterback knockdown stat, like that kind of stuff. The defense is supposed to be disruptive, not reactive. That's kind of what he is wanting it to be. And why does this fit modern football? Well, offenses, they're too explosive to sit back nowadays.
Yeah. The bend but don't break is dead.
Yes, they're too good at it. They're too good at picking defenses apart. Havoc matters more than bend, don't break, to your point. It does. You got to create chaos. Think about the best defenses in college football last year. Texas Tech caused a lot of havoc. Oklahoma, a lot of havoc. Indiana, a lot of havoc. Ohio State,
A lot of
havoc. Miami, they had two DNs go in the first round because they caused some havoc. These were the best defenses last year, and there's several others. I'm not trying to leave anyone out. Ole Miss had a great defense as well. They caused a lot of havoc also. And then think of the defenses that the team isn't bad. They're good teams, but their defenses don't cause havoc, so it's forcing them not be able to take the next step. We've seen that Lincoln Riley's whole career, USC, Oklahoma, he's always had issues creating havoc, and there's other teams that are really high-powered offenses don't quite have the defense to kind of take them to that next level. And so you just flat out can't survive, not only in the SEC, but college football as a whole, playing passive defense anymore. You just can't do it.
Yeah, we talked yesterday about what Lebby said, how defenses are different now, how they want to make you pay, they want to create negative plays, all that. And then he goes, and now today, same interview though, talks about how he basically wants that defense backing up his offense and giving his offense the ball more. So he sees what's out there and he wants it in Starkville. And I think, and also with hiring Arnett, it's a guy who's done it before here, been a head coach here to where almost hired like a head coach of the defense. And it's just like, hey, go do your thing. And you see it with some of the guys they brought in, like Amaree Williams, Daelyn Evans, like these guys who at the front, who are defensive linemen who on paper should be able to create some of these splash plays in and around the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. So that is very telling that I think, again, the evolution of Lebby as a head coach, he's figuring out how to be a head coach. And I don't mean like he was clueless when he got here. It's just, this is so much is asked of head coaches, and you don't know what you don't know until you're in that position. And I think he's done enough now to where he's starting to be able to see what needs to be fixed and try to fix them. And this defense is a big part of it. And if you can create these types of splash plays with explosive as his offenses can be, as explosive and amazing of an athlete as Kamario Taylor is, you could turn games in 5 minutes with splash play from the offense, defense gets a turnover, another splash play from the offense, that could be a 14-point swing in 15 minutes. Or, 5 minutes of game time, 15 minutes real time. And one thing I really liked about what he said on this is hit the quarterback. Because anytime you look at stats, like with sacks, pressures, hits, all of that, the one that, people who really study that stuff say is like a sticky stack that's like year over year you can bet on is pressures. Sacks fluctuate wildly, but if you have guys who are getting to the quarterback and hitting them, even if they're not getting credit for a sack year after year after year, that means either that guy is awesome or your defense is very good, because sacks can happen for crazy reasons. But if you're getting consistent pressure on a quarterback, that means your defense is very good.
Right. And also think about think about those teams that are getting after the quarterback. Not just sacks, just pressures in general. Those are the teams that are having the most success. And you brought this up a little bit. Why does Zach Arnett fit that role? Well, he has a very aggressive mindset, just flat out. And obviously his familiarity with Starkville, familiarity with the SEC, that helps. But defensive identity is already established. Arnett's best defenses, they played downhill. They were violent defenses. This move raises expectations immediately because there are no excuses left defensively. Your argument with the defense this last year, because they were really good early in the year and then they kind of fell off at the end of the year, was they weren't aggressive. They didn't get after the quarterback. They didn't do all. Well, Zach Arnett is going to bring aggressive mindset like that. That's going to happen. So you don't have any more excuses when it comes to that when you have a guy like Zach Arnett as your defensive coordinator. And again, your only excuse you can use for this year is, it's year one. But on the flip side, like, that's not even a good excuse because it's not year one for your head coach. It's year one.
How much weight can that hold?
Yeah. But to your point, this shows growth from Lebby because a lot of head coaches, when they're doing it for the first time, they go in with a plan. Like, they've never done it before. And everyone, you've done this in life where maybe you haven't done something yet before and you're going into it for the first time and you kind of have a game plan. This is how I'm going to attack it. And then after doing it for a little bit, you're like, this might not be the best game plan. And it's based off of stuff you've learned from other people or stuff you've seen. And then you're going through and you're like, okay, maybe that's not the best game plan. I need to kind of tweak it and let's attack it this way. And then you attack it that way and that ends up being the better way. That's where I say there's growth from Jeff Lebby because he came out with a game plan and how the defense was going to operate and all that. Then he sees how defenses are attacking his offense and said, I want that. And so let's change my philosophy. Let's change my game plan. And let's go find who could bring me that, but also who would come to Starkville and do that. And the reason why I'm saying it that way, it's not a knock on Mississippi State at all. But the reality is you're not getting Jim Knowles to come to Mississippi State. That's just the reality of it. He's one of the best defense coordinators in college football. He's probably not coming to Starkville. So you got to find a guy who has that mindset, but also would be willing to coach at Mississippi State. And that's where you have Zach Arnett.
And you also don't want to take a gamble on someone like Jim Knowles' linebacker coach or so, one of those guys who hasn't done it before because they might know everything in theory, but then they get here and you have to wait 2 or 3 years for them to figure it out. And Lebby doesn't have 2 or 3 years for someone to figure something out.
Right.
He's got year, maybe 2 years to figure it out. And Zach Arnett has it figured out. He knows what his plan is. He knows what kind of players he wants. He has a philosophy. He brought coaches with him that are familiar with him and some guys who are younger, hungry coaches that fit his philosophy as well to add some, new ideas, different energy, that kind of thing. So they're kind of trying to microwave this defense a little bit. They kept the good pieces from last year, brought in a coach who's familiar with the area, who has the aggressive, right kind of mindset, and brought in some defensive transfers that on paper should be able to give you what you're looking for. So we can't expect a massive turnaround in defense in 1 year. It takes time because you have to build depth. You have to build continuity, all of that. But jumping another 15, 20 spots in the defensive rankings overall, probably not out of the question. And if you do that, you're in just about every game.
It's very simple. If this defense creates chaos, Mississippi State becomes dangerous fast. I mean, it's just flat out. That's the reality of it. But
chaos over.
Yeah. Coming up, Jeff Lebby mentions a particular position group that might quietly be the most important position group on the offense. We'll talk about that next. Well, the NBA playoffs are here and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, that's right, turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience feel a lot more informed. Whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level of excitement to every game. It's a really easy app to navigate, and it makes playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. As people know, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm from the Oklahoma City area. I'm a big Oklahoma City Thunder fan, so a lot of my bets that I would be placing would be in favor of the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially trying to be the first team since the Warriors to go back-to-back NBA champions. Well, head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Get Locked On Mississippi State ad-free with the Everydare Club, plus members-only Discord access and more. Join at the URL that's in the show notes. Okay, so the tight end room might be the chess piece that unlocks the offense. So in the interview, he was asked about the tight end room. He said 10 personnel look, 11 personnel, just being versatile, 12 personnel, which for those that don't know, the first number is how many tight ends are on the field, and then, so on and so forth. And then zero would be running back. Yeah, so 10 is one tight end, no running backs, 11, and so on and so forth. So that's how it goes. So empty formations, he even talked about, same personnel groupings. The goal is making defenses guess wrong before the snap, and that's exactly what having multiple tight ends would do. I think I missaid that. I said 10 personnel. The first is running back, second's tight end. So 0 tight ends, 1 tight end, 12 personnel, but 2 tight ends. 13 is 3 tight ends, and so on. I think I misspoke on that one. I can't remember what I actually said. But nonetheless, what he is talking about, because in the 10 personnel look, he's still wanting a tight end in his interview. He's still wanting a tight end on the field. They're just going to be flanked out wide, so they technically would be a wide receiver and not on the line of scrimmage, so it's not a tight end. But what he is meaning by all that is how important the tight end position specifically is for this offense, and why – last year we had Seydou Traore, he was a really good player for them. Obviously, he gets drafted, he had a lot of talent. This year, I'm really high on Riley Williams. I think he's going to do well. But that is why, despite all the question marks at tight end and they don't have a lot of experience, they don't have a lot of production, it's going to be a big part of his offense.
Yeah, it is. And we've talked about that before because, you look at Lebby's OU offenses, he loved using the tight end. It unlocks something different in his offense when he has a tight end that is explosive, that he trusts to kind of take over the seams and over the middle and all that, and let the wide receivers really play outside and kind of mess with the safeties. And, like you mentioned, Riley Williams, and hey, to the one guy who commented about a week ago, we both love Riley Williams. We're talking about him now. We mentioned him in a couple other episodes, but no, I think him and Sam West are both going to play a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of 12 personnel because both of those guys, while they are tight ends, they're big receivers who play tight end. That's what it is. They can block, but they're not like your old school inline Jason Witten's type. They're more.
Sam West would be the closer one of the two to do that.
He's more like that, but they're more in the new mold of the Travis Kelce's and all that. So they block, but they're not an extra tackle on the field. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them out there because you can run one of them deep, one of them short. You think with 2 tight ends, hey, they're going to run the ball. Not necessarily when you have 2 guys who can go and get it like both of them can. So it really can unlock something different with Lebby's offense, and it can just make an offense fun. I know it's a weird thing to say, 2 tight ends making offensive fun, but it is. When you don't know what someone's doing, opens up play action, opens up, heck, bring back the option. Like running it with Kamario with 2 tight ends, he can get the edge pretty easy with that. So there's a lot of different things you can do when you have versatility. Now, I know that's a really shocking and insightful comment by me. Versatility makes you more interesting.
Right. And Sam West last year totaled just 5 receptions, 41 yards, 1 touchdown, was used more as a blocker. He's 6'4", 250. He's a big guy.
Big dude, but he can go
and
get
then
it.
Riley Williams is 6'5", 250 also. Like, these are 2 massive tight ends. Now, Riley is more athletic. He's more of your pass-catching tight end. To Landon's point, I think there'll be in a lot of 12 personnel with both of them on the field at times because one is such a great blocker, and we'll see what Riley is as a blocker. He obviously hasn't played yet for us and hasn't played a lot in his career, so we have to wait and see that part. But you would expect him to be used more in the passing game. Really, what will determine if you're in 11 personnel, so 1 tight end, 12 personnel, so 2 tight ends, will really depend on what you think of the wide receiver room. And the reason why I say that is because you're not going to do a lot of 12 personnel if you feel really confident in 4 receivers.
Yeah.
Or even, 3 receivers, depending on if you have 2 running backs or how you want to, sort out the rest of the unit. But you're not going to play a lot of 12 personnel if you have a lot of confidence in your receivers. And I mean, the confidence is like, man, I really don't want to have any of them off the field. Like, if it's like, man, I really love these 3, this one, or then maybe you have a tight end on a second tight end, or maybe I really love these 2. Like last year, for example, you had 2 you were very confident in. Brennan Thompson, Anthony Evans, very confident in that. So you didn't mind throwing an extra tight end out there. This year could be different. You hope it is different because the wide receiver room you hope is that much improved.
Yeah, and plus 11 personnel, when you have someone like Riley Williams, who is as athletic as he is, an 11 personnel look with him kind of flexed off the line a little bit, where he is essentially just a supersized slot receiver. With how fast every other receiver on this team is, you could see some explosive plays from him just on like 10-yard in routes or something. Because if you have Evans and McGee and some of Zion Raggins, if you just got him trying to blow the top off a defense, I mean, there's going to be some holes over the middle in that intermediate game for Riley Williams, Sam West. If they get Zayon Cotton out there as a freshman, those guys to just feast over the middle because they're so athletic and they're so big. They have to put a linebacker on them because of the size, but they're going to be more athletic than almost every linebacker that's on them. So then maybe they pull a safety in, then they have a 5-inch height advantage on the safety. And those are the things that when you have a good offensive coach like Lebby, who moves people around, hunts those mismatches and uses tempo, having versatile tight ends, that's why it takes it to a whole other level. Because when you have a good tight ends, it's already a mismatch. When you add in a up tempo factor and a coach hunting that mismatch, it goes up another level. Because then you have just this chess piece that you just move around and go, oh, you figured out how to stop him here. Okay, now we're going to do this with him.
Looking at the bigger picture, I actually put that in there. Tempo without substitutions. Having that tight end, that's why it matters, because you can go with that tempo, not let them sub to kind of match your personnel, and then it gives you more flexibility as an offense. You can disguise your formation better, which then confuses the defense. When one player lets you change your entire offense without changing personnel, that's a massive weapon. And then if you add a second one in there as well, then it's even bigger of a weapon. Why this helps Kamario Taylor, because it makes your reads easier when you have a really good tight end. You get those matchup advantages. A lot of times linebackers are the ones that have to cover tight ends, and if Riley Williams is too fast, I think he's going to be too fast for a lot of linebackers, and then I think he's too big for a lot of safeties and nickels. So I think he's a mismatch problem for a lot of teams. It also gives you protection flexibility because if he is a really good blocker, which again we'll have to see with Riley Williams, Sam West, so some good things, then that helps you with protection. This is about making life easier on the quarterback because the offense wants to stress defenses mentally before the play even starts. And if you have tight ends that can do that, man, it makes it tough for a defense. And we talked about it on yesterday's show, where defenses like to really confuse people. if you throw out tight ends that are capable tight ends, like it's not just a body out there. Now you're playing chess with them because now you're throwing a confusion at them.
Yeah, and there's the old saying like a tight end is quarterback's best friend. You remember, I mean,
right.
Obviously you have the Mahomes-Kelsey connection. You going back, you got Romo and Witten, all these, Brady and Gronk. Those things, they just kind of develop in a way because it normally starts as that's the safety blanket. They're running the 10-yard curl route or something, and they cross the pocket. Oh, he's blocking out the linebacker. Let me just lob this over, get the first down. Let's reset things. If Kamario develops a relationship, with those two guys that they're kind of on the same page, that just unlocks another thing where because of his ability to extend plays, you could just, here's 5 yards. It's cheap, easy 5 yards. And that's just a way to just stay ahead of the chains. And if you can do that where you're getting 5 yards and all of a sudden you're back at the line ready to go, that defense is going to be scrambling.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up, official visit season is heating up, and this is a massive recruiting stretch for Mississippi State. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you had to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So recruiting momentum can change fast this time of year because we've already seen some commitments go out, and we'll see if those hold because it is a little early for commitments to go out and hold. But you're starting to see players schedule their official visits. You're starting to see more offers go out. So one guy that I want to touch on, Christian Mays. He is he's a player from Northeast Mississippi Community College. He is a defensive lineman. Depending on where you listed, look at because on 3 has him at 6'4", 285. I think you said 24/7 as a
6'6", 345. Either way, massive man.
It depends where you look. Regardless, he's a massive human being. But he has scheduled his official visit with Mississippi State. It's going to be in June, and I have the date pulled up. And I will say on his Twitter, he does put 6'6", 345. So maybe that's where they got it from. Maybe. I would assume. But anyways, he put June 19th through the 21st. That's when he's going to do his official visit to Mississippi State. Right now, if you look at On3's predictor, Auburn leads at 37.7%. We'll see if they can hold. Obviously, they got a whole new recruiting or coaching staff. So we'll see, like I said, if they end up holding off. Mississippi State has offered, even though if you look at On3, they're not listed yet, but they obviously have offered Arkansas and Tennessee, which I think they offered on Thursday of last week. Arkansas and Tennessee are other ones that are interested. He did schedule his official for Arkansas, which is later this month. He actually has an official visit with Tennessee earlier in the month in June. And then he hasn't won with Auburn. And like I said, Auburn right now is the perceived favorite for his services.
Yeah. I mean, obviously no pun intended here. He'd be a big get when you hear, he's obviously a very large man. All the SEC teams are coming after him, which is usually a good sign that he's a pretty good player coming up from Juco. And you're going to be in a dogfight for this one. I do think it's good that you have the last visit because he's got Tennessee at the beginning of the month, then Auburn the next week, and then EU the next week. So I think kind of being the last one of that, maybe you can sway him a little bit instead of him coming into your building and then going to all the other places. So hopefully maybe the timeline gives you a bit of an advantage. But this, I mean, like a lot of defensive guys that we're going to talk about a lot in their recruiting this year, it's going to come down to defensive improvement. And if Arnett wants them in the scheme, if they feel they can succeed in his scheme, and if that scheme is showing success on the field.
Yeah, for sure. Some other offers we want to touch on real quick. We're almost out of time, but 2028 offers have started to go out. Cole Pollock is one. He's from Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia area. He's a 3-star on 24/7 Sports. I believe they're the only ones that have started to put out their 2023 rankings. No team really stands out for him yet because Georgia Tech leads at 9.9%, but a lot of good offers. That's why I said I would expect him to be like maybe a 4-star going off of the offer list. Because, again, Georgia Tech, Auburn, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Florida, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, Ole Miss, Miami, Nebraska, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Like
they have him at 88, so he's right on the cusp of being a 4-star already. He'll easily be one by the time it's said.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think Rivals and ESPN do their 2028
I think so.
yet, so I bet he is once those come out. Another 2028 offer is Jarvius Owens Jr., He's from Houston, Texas. Now, I say that because, and he's 2028, I say that they might not have put theirs out. Rival actually has him as a 3-star, so maybe they have done evaluate some guys. But he's a safety.
Big safety.
Yeah, he's big. He's 6'3", 175 listed on 3, but he's got Houston, Baylor, SMU, Nebraska, Missouri, Arizona, North Carolina offers. And the Mississippi State obviously offered as well. So a lot of things happening in the recruiting world.
Yeah, another big safety coming in. I think that's going to be our type, is the big 6'2" plus safety, which those guys are fun. So that's going to be another good one to watch. But, hey, it's 2028. We got a long time before we get there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Mississippi State. Tomorrow we got much more football to talk about, so make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Mississippi State to get all the latest episodes. Reminder on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. You never miss an episode. The Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Mississippi State ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to the custom link in the show notes to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Basketball. For Locked On Mississippi State, I'm Jaron. That's Landon. Until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.